Hello. America has a very good opportunity. One thing I don't talk a lot about on my channel, but I've touched on it a time or two, is guns. America has a great opportunity here in that this is the first time in a while we've had Republican majority in the legislature, both houses, and there are pro Second Amendment freedom Democrats, but they are rare and they are being chased out of their party. So majority Republican, when you have that, it's safe to say there's probably a majority that are for our Second Amendment freedom. And we've got Trump, a Second Amendment supporter in the presidency. It's a great chance to roll back, repeal stupid, bad gun laws that shouldn't be there. And here are my thoughts about where I think the federal government priorities should be now. And if y'all make this go viral by sharing it, maybe Trump will watch the video that's got 1 million hits. But none of my videos have gone that viral yet. I don't think I've topped over 1,000 on one of my videos. If I have, maybe there's one or two that got close. But thank you for watching, even if you don't share this. Our first priority in strengthening our Second Amendment rights should be to appoint good judges. And it's rare for judges to be impeached. And I'm not calling for haphazard, random impeachments of judges, but we really should think about maybe impeaching some judges. I think the first priority of the federal government should be, well, let's repeal any... First thing Trump should do, repeal every unconstitutional executive order that the previous executive made. And there might have been some about guns, so that should be one thing that happens. Then let's protect our freedoms in the states. What do I mean by that? I mean, right now California's got a crazy, ridiculous network of laws, including some unreliable what's the word? It's like fantasy. That fantasy is the thing. But California, you're not allowed to buy semi-automatic gun that does not micro-stamp. Micro-stamp, that's not a really reliable technology, and even if it was, it's not going to solve crimes because the criminals will steal a gun. And when a micro-stamping gun is stolen, you won't know who shot who with it because the criminal will not register the micro-stamping gun. Several states have what they call assault weapons ban, which are ridiculous bans on the cosmetics of firearms, cosmetic features of rifles that are a little bit like an AR-15, that have a lot of black plastic in them and are semi-automatic. And some of those laws also limit the sizes of magazines. In New Jersey, I've heard that hollow point ammunition is banned. I could make a whole nother video and rant for several minutes about how stupid and bad of an idea that is. But I also think it's unconstitutional. Some of you are saying, but that's a state law. How can the federal government affect state law? If that law is violating rights, then the federal government can step in. Think of the 1950s and 1960s. Brown versus Board of Education reversed a previous Supreme Court decision. If I'm remembering right, it was Plessy was the name of the Supreme Court case, the previous one, that said that separate but equal was constitutional and equal. And what did President Eisenhower do? He sent in the National Guard. And And if we didn't have President Kennedy and President Johnson, maybe more of that would have happened in the 1960s. Martin Luther King Jr. wouldn't have needed to do his march and that beautiful speech. I'm glad he did the speech, but I'd rather his rights have been respected so he didn't need to do the speech, the I Have a Dream speech. So we have a precedence in that for the federal government getting involved in the states when the states are violating constitutional rights, human rights. And our freedom to protect ourselves is definitely a fundamental right. And our freedom to be... One thing that a gun ban does is presumes guilt on somebody without any evidence. Somebody can want to own a gun for peaceful reasons, and defending yourself against a violent attacker is peaceful. So let's get that done. Let's get concealed carry permit reciprocity. I used to go to the temple for me until recently was in the Washington D.C. suburbs. I would drive from New Jersey. Yeah, now you know what state I live in, but I'm not giving you my complete address. I want to have a private life too. Drive through New Jersey, drive through Pennsylvania, unless I took the Delaware Memorial Bridge, then I went straight from New Jersey to Delaware. If I went through Pennsylvania, I still ended up going through Delaware, and then into Maryland. I drove through 4 states with 1 driver's license because we have national driver's license reciprocity. Well, if I've taken enough classes that my state says that I'm responsible enough to have a loaded handgun on me, under my clothes, why should the neighboring state, well, especially since I live in New Jersey, it's hard in New Jersey to get those permits. We're not a shall issue state. And Carol Brown is dead because of that. If I'm remembering her first name right, Brown's definitely her last name. There's a woman in New Jersey within the past 3 or 4 years who was murdered by a boyfriend while she was waiting for a permit to purchase a handgun to come through. That's that her blood is on the hands of the gun banners. She was trying to get a gun to defend herself. The Hearing Protection Act, that's an idea that makes sense to me. Mufflers for the cars and a silencer for the gun were invented in the same year. One is required. You might get harassed or maybe fined a little bit depending on the state if you refuse to have a muffler on your car so people don't have to, hear a very loud car engine. But if you want to make your gun a little quieter, you got to pay extra money to the federal government. Go through an extra background check. Register yourself. Register the suppressor. And some states ban them completely anyway. The National Hearing Protection Act, the ones that I've heard of, don't force the states to accept, to let people have suppressors, but it eliminates the extra hurdles at the federal level to having a suppressor for your gun. Some people might be against that act because they think that they are silencers that make a gun go completely silent, but they don't. They're still sound. It's just making it quiet enough you might not need hearing protection, but you can still hear a gun from, like next room. You might hear it on the same block. It's not a silencer. There are movies where somebody puts a silencer on a 12-gauge shotgun and there's not any sound at all. And that's a lie. There's sound. When a silencer is on any gun, it doesn't silence it. It makes the sound less, but not down to 0. So that's Hearing Protection Act. Right now, there are restrictions on guns going across state lines without going through a gun dealer. And I'm not calling for a blanket repeal on all of those restrictions. But how about if you, as long as you go to a gun dealer or a gun store, that you can do buying and selling. I say that because they're, the nearest gun store to me is in a different state because my city is on the state border. And 2 times I've tried to find this one gun store that's close to me, and I could not find the thing. And I think I drove far enough that I drove past it. So I should be able to go to the nearest gun store to do things. Especially now with the instant background check system in place. This ban on gun sales across state lines was created in the 1960s, 1968, before we had our current computer technology, instant background check system. Somebody should be allowed to go to the nearest gun store, even if that means going across state line, because that gun store still has access to the exact same federal instant background check system, and it will still do a background check. In fact, there's an appeals court, the Seventh Circuit, that has, under their jurisdiction, overturned that part of the law because technology has made that law outdated. The technology that now exists was not around when that law was made, and so if you live in the right appeals court area, under the right jurisdiction of the appeals court, well, they call it a circuit. The certain states are under each appeals court circuit. If you're in the right circuit, you should be able to, because I get my news from reliable sources, you should be able to go across state lines to a gun store across state lines to buy things. Some people talk about, they really hate the short barrel rifle, short barrel shotgun restrictions that were created in 1934. It's still letting you have a shotgun, it's still letting you have a handgun, it's still letting you have a rifle. Let's not worry about repealing those. Somebody's probably yelling at the video, but we need this or that from the federal government. Alright, people in Georgia, Florida, Texas, Vermont, etc., the states where the state is not violating your rights, please be thoughtful for those of us in states that are violating our rights, and petition the President and the Congress to help us, helping us, who have to worry about getting caught with a Marlin Model 60. I think that's the model number, where the tubular magazine's the same length as the barrel, and so it's one too big for New Jersey's ridiculous gun ban. Please click like on this, put comment in the section, and petition your representatives to help us in New Jersey, help us in California, in New York, in Massachusetts. Make helping us a priority before the Hearing Protection Act, because you can still put on hearing protection at the range. I think it is a good idea. It makes sense to repeal that act, to repeal the restrictions on suppressors, but you can still put hearing protection on the range. I can't put crazy gun ban protection on my hands and, be protected from New Jersey's asinine laws. Thank you for watching this. Donald, I hope you end up seeing this. Have a good, I should be more formal here. President Trump, I hope you end up seeing this video. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a good day.